color prejudice in the black community. Are you too light? Are you too dark? Are you not black enough? We've all heard some of the comments. We've heard comments from grandparents. We've heard comments from brothers and sisters, from coworkers, from aunts and uncles, even from religious clergy, black leaders. Let's be honest, all of our black leaders after slavery, with the exception of the most honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey and Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad, have passed the brown paper bag tests. All of our black leaders have passed the brown paper bag test, and 99% of those black leaders married women who could also pass the brown paper bag test. Brothers and sisters, we want to talk about colorism. We're going to talk about light skin supremacy. We're going to talk about dark skin supremacy. We're going to talk about discrimination by and or against our mixed race African brothers and sisters. And let me say here and now, all of us are guilty. All of us are guilty. We're guilty because we practice it, or we're guilty because we condone it. You might not personally practice light skin supremacy. You may not personally practice brown skin supremacy. You may not personally practice dark skin supremacy or mixed race supremacy, but I bet you know people who do, and you don't do anything about it. I bet you've heard jokes against light-skinned Africans and you thought they were funny. I bet you heard jokes against dark-skinned Africans and you thought they were funny. I bet you heard jokes about mixed-race Africans and you thought they was funny. So nobody's innocent tonight. The entire community is guilty of skin color prejudice. So we're going to jump right into it. Let's keep our comments respectable. Let's keep our comments respectable, but we also want to make sure that our comments are respectable. Queen Ayoba, where you at? You're not in there today. I see you at the top. How do I bring you up in there? Okay, invite to speak. Okay, I got you. I see you there. Good evening to you, Queen. How are you?
I am very well, King. How are you doing this evening?
I'm good. So I'm going to ask you to start off. Now you're a brown skin sister, so you wouldn't be light, you wouldn't be dark, you would be in that middle. So my question to you, are brown skin Africans necessarily the safe group of Africans? Because you guys you're not light, you're not dark. So in your experience, are you guys safe? Like, is the brown skin community the safest community to be in because you're in between? Or do you guys also experience a degree of skin color prejudice?
Well, let me tell you, good doctor, it's subjective because all my life folks told me I was light-skinned. I thought I was brown-skinned, or light brown is what I like to call myself. But I'll give you a quick little anecdotal instance. I lived in Jacksonville when I was a teenager, and the last day of school, I was being fast, right, being grown. I skipped school. Everybody skipped school the last day. I skipped school. Actually, I didn't live in Jacksonville. I lived in a suburb outside of Jacksonville called Arlington. So I skipped school to go into Jacksonville, the hood, where I could never, I never had any business. Anyway, I went over there, I'm about 14, and I was assaulted by a dark-skinned sister. She was in her 20s, early 20s. Her words to me, and nothing else, we didn't exchange no type of words, no arguments, no eyeballs, no nothing, was that red B-I-T-C-H over there. And I'm a child. And mind you, I'm very careful about this story because I know the pain and the troubles that my dark-skinned brothers and sisters have gone through. So I don't tell that story because I'm not looking for sympathy, but we got problems on both sides. So I cannot say that I've escaped it. I've also had probably undeserved favor with brothers. So that made me not very popular with the sisters, but that wasn't their fault. We know that this is conditioning as white supremacy or perceived white supremacy and so forth. So I cannot say that I've been safe. I have had the shitty end of the stick, pardon my language.
Wow. Interesting. That's interesting. And
I still have the scar in my head, by the way. She hit me with a 2x4. And I bled out fighting this woman. Yeah.
Sorry to hear that.
I passed out. Yeah.
Sorry to hear that.
It's a scar that I know where it comes from. And even though she was a grown woman, I know where that comes from, you know?
Got you. And let me say this to clarify to everyone who is participating or listening to the conversation tonight. For the purposes of the conversation, we describe light skin as our African brothers and sisters who are yellow or lighter. So if you are yellow to pale, you are light skin. If you are brown paper bag brown up until yellow, you are brown. And if you are darker than the brown paper bag, you are dark. That's how we're going to categorize for this conversation. So generally speaking, in our everyday lives, if you can pass the brown paper bag test, you usually are called light skin. But for tonight, we want to delineate because I think that makes the group too large. Because a lot of brown skin Africans haven't went through what the light skin Africans have went through. So to just add a little bit more clarity to context, brown paper bag and lighter is brown skin. Yellow to pale is light skin. And if you cannot pass the brown paper bag test to blue, black, purple, you are dark. So those will be the three groups for tonight. But thank you for that, Sister Ayoba. Well said. I'm going to go to the makeup queen. Come on in, makeup queen. Unmute yourself.
Hey, how are you?
Peace and love, sister. Now, let me ask you before you jump in on this conversation, where are you joining us from?
I'm in Maryland.
Maryland, okay. And would you be a member of the light skin community, the brown skin community, or the dark skin community?
I'm brown skin.
Brown skin. And what are your thoughts on skin color prejudice in the black community? Is it overrated? Is it a really big problem? Why are our people so uncomfortable with talking about this? I had so many people did not want me to talk about this. Why do you think?
Yeah, so I'm the person on Clubhouse that everybody gets annoyed with because I talk about it so much, because I feel like it's a super duper important conversation to be had. As a brown skin woman, I don't really face it too much, right? Like I would say we're relatively fair. It's almost like we don't even get taken any type of consideration in a colorism conversation. So of course, like if I'm with like all of my light skinned friends, you know, I may like reap some type of negative ramification around colorism. But, you know, I always say like somebody who is dark skinned, you are pretty much dark skinned anywhere you go, not just here in the States, anywhere. And so their experience is completely different. Now, I don't think that reverse colorism is a real thing, right? I don't think that light-skinned people are systemically plagued in the same way that dark-skinned people are when it comes to like systemic issues, right? So that doesn't mean that there aren't light-skinned people who don't go to jail, who aren't treated like a nigga, because they are, right? We know that to be true. I'm just saying that there is data that backs that dark-skinned people are systemically affected differently. And the last thing I'll say is this. I always say there is some type of nuance around, you know, light-skinned people dealing with colorism. And in my personal opinion, this is in my opinion, I'm actually interested in what you would have to say to this. I feel like the only way at this point a light-skinned person is really facing any type of colorism is if there is somebody who is of a darker hue than them questioning their advocacy for the collective because of the hue of their tone.
Give me that last statement one more time. Give me that one more time.
Sure. So the only time I can see reverse colorism happening, and this is like really nuanced, would be if there is somebody who is dark skinned or darker than said lighter person questioning their advocacy for the collective.
And when that happens, so when the darker skinned person questions the light skinned Africans' commitment to the struggle, finish that for me. You were going to say they respond how, or you're saying that's the only time they do what?
In my opinion, it seems like that's the only way that they really are dealing with any type of colorism. Okay. Now, let me play devil's advocate. A lot of lighter skinned Africans, be they brown, but especially light skinned Africans, they would say that that is dismissive of the unique struggles that they have,
with skin color prejudice in the black community. So, for example, we know that our light-skinned black girls, the little ones, elementary school, are often physically bullied for being lighter. I've heard light-skinned sisters say that sometimes they are presumed to be bougie or uppity even before anyone meets them. I've had a sister tell me not long ago that her mother taught her that light-skinned women are nasty, that they don't clean themselves as well as brown or dark-skinned sisters. So is it possible that you could be somewhat dismissive of the unique challenges that light-skinned black folks face as it relates to skin color prejudice in our community?
Yeah, so I definitely agree. Like, I think I could agree with that. And I always do say that, but I am saying that things that happen when you're 9 years old, when you're getting your hair pulled. Okay, I always use this example. Sorry. So walk with me here. I used to always get made fun of growing up because everybody who was black would say, oh, you talk like a white girl. You talk like a white girl. You act like a white girl. But the reality is that as I became an adult, it was easy for me to adapt in different spaces. So it's not like it was like something that hindered me that bad. And while these are two separate things, it's just kind of like an analogy. So if I can understand how something like that, right, as a child getting made fun of all of the time and people questioning your blackness for whatever reason, I know that in real life, it actually helped me out a lot more. And I got a lot more privilege because of that rather than when I was younger. And It seems like a lot of times, and this, I've been told this is dismissive, it seems like a lot of times when I do hear our lighter hue brothers and sisters speak about this, it's always about when they're children and not when they're adults. And so it's like, well, if you can name that it affected you then, can you then also name that you do have some type of privilege attached to it as an adult? Okay.
So you would say light-skinned brothers and sisters tend to be dismissive of the fact that there is a privilege, albeit a minute one. There's still a privilege to being light-skinned in Black America.
Correct.
And you would say that that privilege exists both within and outside of the Black community.
Yes. So I do know that colorism is defined as inside of the community, but I want to be very clear. White people absolutely know the difference.
Thank you for that contribution, good sister. I appreciate it.
Let me say real quickly to the sister's point, or not her point, I'm sorry, just to kind of, I don't know if she heard when I said that I was, physically attacked. And Brother Umar, I'm not able to do anything. I don't have the green bean.
Okay.
But I was physically attacked, good sister. And I'm very careful about not telling that story all the time because I do understand that there's a difference in how we are treated. I do recognize that. However, it is dismissive. And she mentioned something about it being children and coming into it, but children and adults interact very differently. An adult is not going to pull a sister's hair, but that you're going to see that animosity manifest in different ways. It still exists though. But again, I know why it exists. So it's not right, but I don't assign blame.
Well said. Brother Richie, are you there, Brother Richie?